Hi everyone, a warm welcome to TGIF for yet another exciting episode. We have all been working on Azure Cloud and creating a lot of resources out there, and we know how difficult it is as IT operators, as developers on the cloud to manage and govern our resources. So, in this line, recently at Microsoft Build, we announced a new feature called service groups, and today let's explore this topic. To join me on this short conversation, I have Saurabh Seth, who is a solution engineer in cloud and AI. He works with key strategic customers in driving their cloud and AI charter. So let's welcome Saurabh. Hey Saurabh, warm welcome to TJF.
Thanks, Divya. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So we recently heard this concept of service groups, right, which was announced in Build. Can you tell us a bit more about this topic?
Definitely, Divya. So till now, all our users, and you would be aware that we have had this a very logical way of organizing resources in terms of management groups and then subscriptions and then resource groups, and we would apply RBAC on top of it and Azure policies on top of it from a governance standpoint. But what was missing from that aspect was how do I define my service? And a service here could be understood as a workload. And it's not just about one resource that comprises a service. There could be multiple resource that creates a service, right? So when we talk about in the developer ecosystem, we talk about a workload. And a workload could be made of multiple microservices running on virtual machines or container apps or Kubernetes clusters, and you will have databases and you will have virtual networks and the likes of it, right? And also your monitoring ecosystems like your application insights and log analytics workspaces. So this together creates a workload. Now, if you compare it to how our landing zone guidance also goes through, we will have different resource groups or different subscriptions created for networking resources and domain controllers and a lot of other resources. So when we would go and operationalize and monitor them, it would be more resource centric. But how can I define a service where I have components which are both shared and then components which are unique only to my application? So it's a very loosely coupled definition where it could be one is to many. But if you look at all our existing organization hierarchies, it is all one is to one.
Correct.
One resource group can only belong to one subscription. One subscription can only belong to one management group. So how do I do that?
Correct.
So this is where service groups were announced, and service groups allows us to create this one is to many relationship.
Okay.
So I can have one resource, let's say a network virtual appliance that's part of your landing zone, or a firewall that's there in your landing zone, which may or may not be consequential, but it definitely has value, right? So I can have it as part of many service groups so that all teams which are utilizing that have a keen idea of what is the health state and other relevant organization hierarchies and operational hierarchies of those resources.
Got it.
So that's the real benefit of service groups.
Okay, so in some sense, we are making it first of all logical,
Yes.
and second thing, as close to reality as possible in terms of how these resources work in our application landscape.
Definitely. So it's getting closer to how a developer or an operations team or an SRE team would look at a workload, not from a resource centric standpoint, but more from a service centric standpoint and drive the service availability.
Wonderful.
So eventually service groups will help us be a little more vigilant and quantifiable about our SLI and SLO objectives, which today is very difficult.
Correct. Correct. So, what are some of the scenarios, or how do we actually make use of these service groups in a real world scenario?
So two of the most common scenarios that service groups is addressing today is around creating these flexible organization hierarchies. Because when you have shared components, it's always like there is one cloud operations team that manages that. And as a developer or as an SRE team of one particular workload, I may not have any visibility about that.
Correct.
But with this flexible model of organizing, I also have visibility to that. That's the first challenge that we are solving. The other challenge is around observability. So what service groups also lead into is something called as health models.
Oh, wonderful.
Right? So till now, as part of our guidance on well-architected frameworks, we've always spoken about definition of a health model, but it was more of a paper definition.
Okay.
Now with the concept of health models being introduced along with service groups, we will be able to convert that health model into a realistic definition using which I can quantifiably measure and define my SLIs and SLOs.
Wonderful.
So this is where these are the two primary use cases that service groups are driving today. And in future, as part of upcoming Ignite, we will see a lot more interesting uses of service groups and health models being announced as part of the operational overramp that is happening for the Azure portal.
So a lot more to come in
Lot
that.
more to come on this.
Sure. So can we have a quick demo in that case?
Definitely, we will have a demo.
Sure.
This is my demo service group that I've created. It's got 6 members, so which are basically some databases and an Azure web app that I have. I can also create child service groups. So I can create a hierarchy of service groups, which could be nested. So I can have environment-wise service groups, or I can also have service groups by different services that I'm creating. There's also a monitoring section as part of the service group that I've created. And this is, if you go, this is the landing page of the service group. So it tells you that, yes, the service as part of the service group is degraded, how many issues I've had, and the data is written up to 90 days. From the application insights resource, I get an application map that I can view here. And based on the availability test that I may have configured as part of my application insights, I also get a nice idea from here. Now, I spoke about health models and how service groups are driving health models. So we will quickly switch over to the demo on the health model that I've created. So this is the landing page of my health model where the service group that we just saw is attached to this particular service, the health model. And as you can see in the last 24 hours, it shows a very nice timeline view of how the health events have happened. So it shows that, okay, what's been healthy, what has been unhealthy, and how it has changed over the span of time. It gives me an idea around what's the alerts that have been fired, how many entities are healthy, unhealthy, what's the state of the unknown entities as well, and a budget, which is a donut chart representing how many resources are healthy or unhealthy, and how are we using the health budget. But the most interesting aspect of the health model is the designer view, right? So this is a designer view of the health model. So this is where, based on the service group entities that have been automatically discovered using a managed identity that I have assigned to the service health model, these are the relationships which has created. Now I can create more relationships by simply adding them. But as you can see, I have a database, I have a web app, and I have a application insights resource that's comprising. So you see, you have a metric alerts. I have alerts created here. What I can do is also go and create more. So I'll click on edit. And here I can define what's the impact. So between standard, limited, and suppress, I can change the behavior of what should be the impact if that particular resource in a service health model is unhealthy. I can also define an objective. So this helps us quantify the importance of a particular resource as part of the service group and health model on the overall state of my service. I can create use signals to create alerts. I can add more signal assignments, but here are some that I've already added. I can also have alerts created based on the log analytics workspace. These would be based on Gusto queries and also the Azure Monitor workspace. Right. So imagine you have a Kubernetes cluster. You can use the Prometheus workspace here as well, and you can add signals from there as well. And we can define the alerts. So you have two categories in which the alerts can be defined. So you have an alert for a degraded state and you have an alert for an unhealthy state. So it's basically telling the health model what to do when your service, a health model is in degraded state, or what to do when it is in unhealthy state. And it's the same experience that you have when you are creating it from a standard alert experience standpoint. And as we have seen that my web app has been unhealthy, this is a quick view of it's showing that, okay, because my web app is down, it's actually in a shutdown state. It is impacting the overall health of my health model. It says that it is unhealthy, and accordingly the alerts have been triggered to the respective subscription group owners, which in this case would be me, so that I can go and take action upon this. So this is quantifying the health model aspect into an actual implementation, which our users can definitely take benefit from.